Hello, everyone, and welcome to June's Chief Chat. I can't remember if I already did one in June or not. The time is just kind of blurring on me. So what I'd like to do for this issue of Chief Chat is to cover some of the questions that we did not have time to get to during our virtual town hall. And I would like to thank everyone for participating in that virtual town hall. Virtual is not my favorite thing. I'd much rather be talking with you guys face to face, but given the circumstances, it was the best we could do. And we did get some very good questions. We had a lot of questions, so I wanted to make sure that we try to close the loop on some of them. I apologize if some we've answered in the virtual town hall, but I want to err on the side of caution. Conversely, I apologize if we miss one, and feel free to reach out to me directly if you didn't get your question answered. So the first one is they're interested to know if and how often we are trained in de-escalation. So de-escalation is vital. We have to be able to calm situations down and use other tactics before we resort to any use of force. So we do go through de-escalation training. It's part of our in-service, it's part of our academy, and occasionally if the instructors are right and we find the right classes, we send to specialized training. So we do cover a lot of de-escalation. It is part of our mission. It is part of our goals to when we respond to any kind of incident. I thought this was an interesting question. Will the chief and the Bowie police take responsibility for reaching out in person or via neighborhood walkabouts or informal talks to meet and greet citizens to answer questions regarding events related to public safety in Bowie or neighboring areas, and how they might address concerns of safety for children, adults, and seniors? So the follow-up of that question was also about policies and them being on the website and me pointing people to the website. We have 66,000 and some change in population. So we will continue to try to do our best to reach out to folks. We have our coffee with the cops. We have this, Chief Chat. We have all these other things that we show up to and that we try to get one-on-one with people. So our policies are on the web. One of the things that this question made me think about is moving forward, I may pick a policy for each Chief Chat, and we'll walk through that policy, and we'll go through the ins and outs and the highlights, especially things like use of force and things that people have a lot of questions about. And so look forward to that maybe in July, in the July Chief Chat. What has the police force learned from seeing the terrifying activities of other police across the country, and what will Bowie police be doing to protect their citizens? So every time there's an incident, and this kind of got covered before, but every time there's an incident, we take that incident, we turn it upside down, we turn it sideways, we talk about it. We talk about it within the command staff, we talk about it within the officer ranks, and we look and we see how do we avoid those pitfalls, how do we prevent that like incident from happening here in Bowie. Whether it's a training issue, whether it's a philosophical or policy issue, we try to make sure that we do our best to get ahead of that curve. So we do review all these things. What anti-racism training do you have in place? How long is the training? College graduates need to study 4 years to receive a degree. We should be doing the same. So anti-racism training, and again, it's we do the implicit bias training. We have numerous talks, and we can't go to the 4-year degree or the 4 years of studying these things. We need to get up on it, stay up on it, and continuously reinforce those concepts. So, and I will say that we do this on a regular basis. We had a town hall and a virtual town hall within the department last week, so we could talk about these things because we are a microcosm of society. We're just a bunch of members of society that are put into one organization. So we have different experiences. We have different outlooks. So we sat down and we talked about those last week. And we continue to do that. We continue to talk about, because as a white male, I may see something differently than an African American male or an African American female, because they have different societal experiences than I do. So we need to make sure that we're all speaking inside the department, because if we can't speak about things inside the department, we're going to have a tough time talking about them outside of the department. Where are the majority of our police officers coming from? Our police department should strive to have the most officers coming from our own community. How can they empathize if they're not grounded in community issues? We get them from all over, but I will say we have a good amount that are homegrown out of Bowie. I actually have staff members that went to Bowie High School together. So we do have a lot of homegrown folks, and the ones that are not homegrown do immerse themselves into the community. Because again, we do need to be part of this community. City funding, how can we work to reallocate city funding to promote social services to our residents? Partnerships with social workers, emergency mental health folks. Sorry, I kind of paraphrased the question for you. That is one of the things that people are kind of rallying around, the defund the police. Defund is probably not the right term, I would say. At least it's not the term that promotes conversation. Reallocate, reimagine, these are better words for me, at least, when it comes to policing. We would love to see more funds going towards social programs, more funds going towards mental health issues. A lot of times we saw mental health institutes or places of business get defunded. And that pushed a lot of people that were having mental issues back out onto the street. So we encounter them, we get them to the hospital, maybe they stabilize them for 72, and then they're right back to where they started. So we definitely do need to invest more money in the infrastructures to help these folks. The county has a group that goes out to assist us with mental health calls. We're hoping that will see some expansion, and that we'll be able to have them come and help us as well. We were talking about the best use of our resources and our funding, city level versus county versus state levels. So, it may not be, we may not have the numbers and the population that warrant having our own mental health people on the city staff. But hopefully funding is going to come through the county, and we can share those resources, because we also have to be very careful about how we're using our finite city spending. Is our department filling any quotas for routine traffic stop? No, we do not. We do not have quotas. The quotas promote bad policing, so we do not have quotas. Are we taking sexual assault allegations seriously? Do we have a backlog of rape kits? No, we do not have a backlog of rape kits. We absolutely do take sexual assault allegations very, very seriously. The county is still helping us out and investigating our first-degree rapes. So any of the rape kits would be logged under the county. We do not have any backlogs of rape kits. Being a police officer, a high-caliber job, and as such, are they getting properly vetted before being brought on board? We do not need officers with racially insensitive backgrounds. Our officers should not be domestic abusers. We want the highest standard for our police force. How are we striving towards that? And we've talked about this before. We have very stringent guidelines. The state provides a bracket or a framework for minimum guidelines. We go beyond that. Our process begins very early. Even from the very first interview question, before we ask a single question, I go into a spiel about here's who we are. Here's how we police. We don't want to bring anybody in who is not going to adhere to our level of service, our level of service with integrity, our standard. I will work short. We will continue to work short if we can't find the proper applicants. We will never bring anybody in here just to fill a slot. We look at backgrounds. We look at everything that we possibly can. Social media platforms. We do everything that we possibly can to vet and make sure that we bring only the highest quality people into this community, because that's what this community deserves. Who is our police union, and are they in the way of any policy changes? Can you provide their contact information? Our police union is the city has their officers have their own FOP. The contract is available online if you want to look at their contract. We work very well with the FOP. They believe in the same core philosophies that we do, and we have a very good working relationship. They do not stand in the way of policy changes. One of the things that we do is when we put new policies out, we put them down to the rank and file, which include the FOP, to look at them to make sure they make sense in a workflow way and to make sure that they are comprehensive, they do meet the goals. The FOP wants the same thing that we want, and that's quality policing. Bowie High School and the police. Why are police needed in educational environments? This only serves to promote the school to prison pipeline. Promote the school to prison pipeline when disciplinary actions are raised with authorities and not school officials. So there's a lot of talk about this, and a lot of strong opinions on both sides. My opinion is that our officers in the high school do much more good than anything else. Our officers are there to build trust. Our officers are there to build relationships. They're not there to just walk around and serve as a hammer or serve as a disciplinary mode. They're there for safety, and occasionally we'll bump into criminal activity that has to be addressed, not school activity. Now, the police aren't getting involved in, we're not sitting there and charging people for being tardy to class and everything else. We're there to help mediate. We're there to help build trust and relationship with the officers. One of the things, and one of the things that I want to stress is that's part of community policing. If we take the officers out of the school, where are the chances to build those relationships? Here's where we have a chance to build relationships with students in a healthy environment versus the first time we ever see any of these kids or try to build a relationship is when something's going horribly wrong on the outside. And we're there when they're having maybe one of the worst days of their entire life. That's not the time to hope that you can establish a relationship. It's to build that borderline or that line of trust, that foundation of trust before we get to those things. And that is the purpose of those officers. And I think they do an outstanding job. Here's one. Why do we need a police force? And what is community policing? Well, if you go back to how we got here to begin with, and it was voted on by a referendum, I think 2005, 2006, we have a large population. And the Prince George's County Police Department is a great institution. They do fine work, but their numbers did not allow for the time, care, and attention that Bowie residents felt they needed. The response times were high, and the follow-up was not always there. And again, it's not a knock on the Prince George's County Police Department. It's the staffing that they have in District 2, which is where Bowie encompasses, and the other things that they have to deal with outside of Bowie. So that is when the referendum was passed, and it was determined that we would be better served with our own police department. So community service is building those relationships. It is talking about issues. It is knowing that we're here. It's going to coffee with a cop, chief chat. It's going to all the events that we do. It's going to the HOA meetings and digging into the individual problems of that neighborhood, and then being able to know that you're the same people that are going to be solving those problems. There won't be transfers to another part of the county. There won't be other things. Your police department is your police department. And one of the things that I've seen personally is that Bowie takes great pride in their police department. They will say that they're our police department. So that relationship and that intimate relationship is very important to maintain our community and the level of excellence that is in our community. How many officers are on the force? If there isn't already, there should be a cap on how many officers. We are slotted for 67. We currently have 2 openings, so we're at 65. So people say, wow, 67, that's a lot for Bowie. Well, Bowie is 66,000 people with 19 square miles. And we're trying to cover that on a 24-hour basis. And we're also trying to do all the community policing things and the follow-up detective things and the support things that a quality police department needs. So realistically, the Department of Justice would say per population, we should have around 88. That being said, it's our job to do as much as we can and to do the best possible job we can with the resources that you, the community, gives us. So it's 67. If we have 67, we will do the absolute best that we can with that 67 and make sure that we're using our resources correctly. Let's see, a few years ago, the Bowie Police Department instated a Citizens Police Academy. I think this was a great initiative to connect with the community on what goes on with the police department. I'd like to see us take a step forward. How would you suggest we continue to bridge that gap? If you haven't attended our Citizens Police Academy, I highly recommend it. And we're not asking you to absolutely come in here and say, wow, we love you, let's sit down and hear how great you are. We want you to come and ask us questions. We want you to come and look at us and okay, now I understand why you do this. I don't always agree with it, but now I understand at least the reasoning behind it and what you're doing. So how do we continue this? I mean, it's through town halls. It's through meetings. I did one at Grace Baptist the other night last week. It's coming to HOAs. It's coming to events. It's being places, having that interaction, having that one-on-one conversation, and it's having the willingness to answer tough questions and difficult questions. And it's the understanding that we are not going to agree on everything, and every citizen's not going to be on board with us. It's understanding that that's going to happen. And we need to be able to have those conversations where even if we don't agree, we still have that conversations and walk away with a better understanding of the other side of the equation. That's how we continue to move forward. Bowie is a predominantly black community, and as such, we want citizens to be comfortable in their own neighborhoods. This means white supremacy must be addressed in our police department. Are we doing anything to check in with our officers to make sure they feel comfortable working alongside each other? Are we taking discrimination complaints from our officers seriously? Is there a system to flag bad apples and efficiently remove and replace them? What kind of anti-racist training does BPD receive? Who does the training? Is it an outside consultant? It varies. We'll do in-service and we'll do out. We did implicit bias over at the University of Maryland. So we continuously look for opportunities. I talked about how we continuously have internal conversations, talking with our officers, having honest conversations with our officers, because we have to be able to talk about it here, and we have to be able to address things here before they leak out to the community. So we have to be able to have those conversations and be prepared to have them and hear the answers that we might get to questions, even if those answers may make us feel uncomfortable. We have to be able to have them here and resolve them here. So we do have a early warning system. The early warning system tracks both use of force and complaints on an individual officer and on the department. So if we see a trend of complaints revolving around a certain issue, we know that there's a training issue. There may be something else that we need to address. But it also flags individual officers if they have more use of force or if they have more complaints, so that we can address that and take a look and take disciplinary action when warranted. Let's see, I took the RAD class a couple years ago with my daughters. The purpose was for us to learn self-defense and also get to know the Bowie police officers. It was a great experience because we got to know the chief as well as the officers who taught the class, and they were great. So what other activities, programs, and efforts is the police department making to connect with the community so that your officers know the citizens personally and can relate to them? What sort of training is required for your officers in terms of helping them have a deeper understanding of differences that may exist due to culture, race, religion, nationality, etc.? So I covered the bias training. I covered the other stuff that we're doing. We are constantly looking for new ways to reach out and build one-on-one relationships where we can, group relationships where we can. I talked to Grace Baptist the other day about getting in to talk to their middle schoolers. they're a hard demographic to get a hold of. High schoolers and middle schoolers are a hard demographic to get down and have them actually talk with you and have them actually share some ideas. We've had a couple of demonstrations here about police brutality nationally and having those conversations in the Black Lives Matter movement. And I've made it a point to try to get out there and get individually in front of some of these young people and say, boom, you have an officer in front of you. What do you want to say to me? Don't worry about feelings. Don't worry about anything else. Whatever's on your mind, let's hash it out. Let's talk about it. And it obviously, you know, I'll be honest, it's mixed results. Some don't want to talk. Some will talk. And then some will say what I want to hear. And then some will give honest, you know, opinions. And those are the most worthwhile conversations that we can have. And we're looking to try to do more of that. We're looking at maybe in July, once things really start to open up, we'll start doing a ride with the chief or something where we just show up with some bikes. We'll show up in a spot. Whoever wants to come ride with us for a while. Now I'm old. We're not riding all day. So, you know, we'll ride the bikes for a while, have some conversations, spend some time together, get to know it, start to break some of those barriers down. You know, we're human beings in uniform. So we need to show that we're human beings, and we need to show that we're treating, you know, we see you as individual human beings with different experiences and different viewpoints on life. Our officers train on how to address mental health issues in citizens, whether it be a manic situation or individual with autism. We do go through various trainings, both for the mental health issues and for people with intellectual disabilities or other disabilities. It's funny, I was just on a Zoom call with a group of athletes from Special Olympics, athletes of color from Special Olympics, talking about the duality that you see in police officers, where they're giving you a medal or they're doing something great with you, and then you see on TV, you know, them doing something horrendous. Different officers, but same uniforms. They're doing something horrendous. And all the negative publicity, and how do we get around that, and how do we deal with each other in an open, honest way? So has the police department, Bowie Police Department, had complaints of excessive force, brutality, or worse since it was established? If so, how many? So we investigate everyone. We take them very seriously. All of our use of forces are, the report is completed by end of shift. It goes through a rigorous review process to ensure that the force was A, necessary, and B, within policy. So we do get an occasional one. Our stats should be up on the website. One of the things that we were trying to work with, our annual report should be coming out. I apologize because I've probably delayed it a day or two because I haven't had a chance to review the final version yet. So look for that. Inside that annual report will be some stats on our complaints. I will say that we have more administrative complaints than citizen complaints. And what does that mean? That means that the administrative complaints come from us. That means that we review things, we review body cam footage, we review reports, we review everything, and that we found a policy violation and we corrected it, versus a citizen having to come and point it out to us. And that is all the questions that I have flagged that weren't answered in the virtual town hall. Again, we're running a little long. I promise we'll do some more in July. One of the things that I might do is pull out the use of force policy, and we'll talk about the use of force policy in July. If you did not get your question answered, please, please, please send me an email directly with it. I promise I will get back to you. This has been one of the more trying times. This is the most trying time in my career, my 27 plus 28 year career. But it's also an opportunity for growth. It's also an opportunity for change. We here at the Bowie Police Department want the same thing as everybody else wants: fair and equitable policing, racial equality. How we get there and how we continue to move forward together is the important part. And we look forward to these conversations, and we look forward to seeing everybody soon. Till then, stay healthy and stay safe. Thanks.